All right, time to bring in Michelle Malkin, who joins us from Colorado, as she usually does. She's the author, of course, of Culture of Corruption. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Thanks for getting one of the worst songs of the 80s stuck in my head.
Right. Okay, so our first talking point. Lionel Richie, Hallelujah Do Country. Michelle? I'm only kidding. Hey, it turns out, one thing I've learned over the last 5 years, really, is I think James Carville, for the most part, he's an unpredictable pundit. Sometimes he'll take on Democrats, sometimes he'll take on Republicans. Here, he's taken on the entire Republican field. Let's watch together.
Rick Perry's completely blown himself up. You know, the best thing Rick Perry could do for himself and his family and his friends is just get out the race and go back to Texas. This man is evidently not up to this. He had plenty chances to do it. He can't debate. He can't give a speech. He can't hold a position paper. He can't go on television.
He's got $15 million in the bank, James.
Judge, he could have $150 million in the bank. He is incapable of running for president. Herman Cain says funny things. Herman Cain is not going to be the Republican nomination for president. I mean, what he is a national distraction, and maybe not a bad one in the middle of this horrific recession. If Romney just is able to go over 50%, I guess there's nothing to stop him, but there's great resistance. Every time you see these polls, Romney can't get above 25%. They don't want to be for Romney. It is perfectly clear. Everybody goes up, everybody goes down, Romney stays the same. Sherlock Holmes told Watson, when you eliminate the impossible, all you're left with is the improbable. Hello, Mitt.
Michelle?
We need a handkerchief to dab off the spittle from his mouth there.
Yes.
You know, he's far more interesting, of course, when he waxes candidly about the Democrats. And it was just a month ago that he was advising Obama to start panicking and to fire his staff. So clearly there's a lot more concern on the part of conventional liberal analysts like James Carville than is indicated in his sort of standard talking points about the GOP field there.
Well, you know what? We have heard from Karl Rove, the strategy on the Democrat side is to blow up whoever the nominee is, and obviously he's doing the entire group. Carville's group itself has seen the writing on the wall. They say that less than 40% of the under 30 crowd, less than 40% approve of the job the President of the United States is doing. He probably can't get reelected unless he's got those millennials.
Right, and that's why we have all of this desperate pandering and dispensing of federal loans and candy to that part of the rank-and-file Democrat base. They're reading the tea leaves. They're looking at these numbers, and as much as they can harangue about the weakness of the GOP field, come next spring, summer, and fall, they're going to be worrying a lot more about the jobless numbers than they are about the quality of the GOP candidates.
It'll be interesting to see if he can get the youth vote as he did, galvanizing them on all of the college campuses across the country, or the majority of them. I want you to take a look at what this stimulus for students really means. So we're going to give you a hypothetical. Let's say a student needs to borrow $212,000. Unfortunately, that's what it costs for some private institutions these days for a four-year education. And then ostensibly would only have to repay $28,220, depending on the type of job they actually get in the open market after college. And over time then, what would the taxpayers owe on that loan? It appears a lot, because if they're only going to pay $28,000 on $212,000, the taxpayers would make up the difference.
Yeah. It's very stark when you put it in such, clear mathematical terms. And it's a raw deal for everyone. Taxpayers, these students who are getting really crappy, useless educations at overinflated prices. And, the federal government and Washington's solution here to the education bubble is their same non-solution to the housing bubble, which is to inflate it even more. It's crazy. It's a cycle that has to end. But no, look at what Obama's doing to try and pander, not just to these college students, but to the generation behind them as well. I mean, he's been at so many high schools here in Colorado, he might as well officially enroll as a Colorado student. He was just here yesterday, and he was here last month, dispensing all of these goodies. And, as I've said with all of these bailouts, whether it's for these big corporations or whether it's for these kids who are in massive debt, when we have to stop repeating things that are not working.
Well, just real quick, how's he doing in Colorado? He desperately needs it, had it last time. Where's he at?
Well, you know, there was this big touted Colorado model during the last couple of election cycles where progressives were really fired up. They had a huge infrastructure here, and I think it's a telling sign that all of them are bailing out. And this is a purple state, and it swung both ways, and I think it's going to swing back to the right, and that's good, especially since I've been a resident here. I've been waiting for that.
The Purple Mountain's majesty. Hey, Michelle, what about
Exactly.
this? I know you're friends with Jason Matera, who is an editor at Human Events. And
Human
a couple of
Events,
days ago, he asked the vice president, you know, do you feel bad about having a rape reference when he was talking about the crime rate? Unless people pass the president's jobs bill, rape and murder is going to go up. And after he asked that question, now apparently the vice president's office is investigating with the Senate whether or not they should pull his credentials to allow him loose there on Capitol Hill. He was on our program earlier today.
It's selective outrage because ABC, CBS have been doing undercover sting operations for decades now, so there's nothing new here. But the vice president is looking to divert attention from what he said and put the attention on me and my tactics. How dare I ask a tough question? See, this administration is just used to media outlets looking to gain access and not hold them accountable.
Yeah, and the thing is, some have suggested, well, you know, he got the interview surreptitiously. He was standing there. He had his press pass right there. The president walks over. They pose for a picture. He asked the question. And now he is the object of a lot of the mainstream media dialogue and not what Joe Biden said, which was deemed by the Washington Post fact finder as being incorrect.
Yeah, I'm so proud of Jason. He worked with us when I was running hotair.com, and he's been asking many of the questions and confronting so many of these entitled Beltway bubble boys like Joe Biden who are offended when anyone shows them anything less than complete obsequiousness. And I have to say, if the Senate Press Gallery and the standing committee that governs all of these press credentials folds and submits to all of this thuggishness from the vice president's office, it would be a damn shame. The entire White House press corps should be up in arms about this. But it's a signal of the lack of transparency of this White House, which has been pushing around a lot of reporters now, not just from the conservative-leaning press, but all of the local outlets that get stuffed in closets so they don't ask troublesome questions of this vice president and this administration.
Yep.
Like what was happening in San Francisco. I think you're alluding to the local reporters
Yes.
there. So real quickly, tell us what happened there. We have about 20 seconds.
Yeah, well, they're banning the San Francisco Press from another local fundraiser, and this is a trend now. The San Francisco Chronicle, which has been the subject of these kind of gag orders, called it, quote-unquote, Nixonian. Hey, glad to know that they're finally realizing some of the culture of corruption that's been governing this administration since day one.
What a good
Better
idea
late
for a
than
book.
never.
Michelle Malkin, thanks so much for your thoughts this morning. We'll see you again next week.
You bet. Okay.